Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your filthy casual place for all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am your host, DylanLasagna. This is episode number 145 of this icy yet spicy podcast. Today we got a good show for you all because we got another late, super out-of-date review of another professional wrestling pay-per-view. What is this late out-of-date review, you might ask? Well, gee, I'm glad you asked because we're going to be reviewing an all-elite wrestling pay-per-view that happened also on Memorial Day weekend, on the same weekend that WWE had a pay-per-view. But we're here to talk about AEW. And this is the annual Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Yes, the same one that is held every year since they came up in existence. That is AEW Double or Nothing 2023, baby. It is our late, super out-of-date review of that pay-per-view. So they were back again in Las Vegas, and I'll get into my full thoughts on this show. But I'll be honest with you guys, a couple of things. I have not watched AEW since, well, when I went to the Revolution pay-per-view in San Francisco. So I was pretty much going into this show not knowing anything at all. Just like with the Revolution pay-per-view, when I was going into Chase Center, home of my Warriors, and not really knowing what to expect with this show at all. Like, I was going in super blind, like not really knowing like the matches, the stories and all that. And then the reason why I'm reviewing this so late is because, well, I work. And also when I tried to review this after Night of Champions, when I did that review, well, it was on a Monday, and guess what was on a Monday? The Eastern Conference Finals of the NBA. For all of you wrestling fans that don't watch anything other than wrestling. Yeah, sports was on a Monday. Game 7 happened to be on the Eastern Conference Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. And, well, yeah, it was rather anticlimactic. Yeah, the Celtics tended to waste everyone's time trying to come back from a 3-0 deficit. Yeah, so much for that. And the Miami Heat blew out the Celtics. And, yeah, they're in the NBA Finals. So, for all the ESPN people out there, like, groaning and moaning and whining, and, yeah, actively trying to avoid talking about this finals matchup between the Chicken Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat, they're still somehow finding a way to talk about the Boston Celtics and the LA Lakers when they're already eliminated. Like, are you that desperate for ratings? Come on, man. And fuck the big market. Talk about the teams that are still playing. Fuck the ratings, man. Fuck the ratings. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about some wrestling because this is what the topic of the day is about. AEW, Double or Nothing. So, yeah, that's what we're here to talk about here on this episode. Before we get into my thoughts and review of this pay-per-view, make sure to listen to the podcast. Follow the podcast on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. If you're listening to this on an audio streaming service, make sure you rate and review the show, whether it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and even Google Podcasts and Spotify for podcasters, if that's still a thing. Your feedback and your ratings mean the world to me, and it helps me improve the show in any way, shape, or form. And if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment, smash the subscribe button, and share this with your friends or a stranger or some guy in the street. I don't know. Either way, spread the word of mouth about this podcast right here called Very Cold Lasagna. So that being said, let's get into the topic of the day of this episode. And that is, of course, an all-elite wrestling pay-per-view that happened called Double or Nothing 2023. So like I said, they were back in Las Vegas. I had no idea what to expect for this pay-per-view because, like I said, I have not watched AEW on TBS or whatever they're on nowadays since Revolution. So basically that's like over 2 months, 2.5 months. Now we're hitting 3 months that I haven't watched AEW. And even then, when I went to Revolution and watched AEW in like over, I think it's like 6 months since the All Out Fallout. So yeah. So we get into this show right here with Double or Nothing. All I do know that on social media, on Twitter, that the buildup has been very piss poor. Like perhaps one of the worst buildups for an AEW show since, I guess, All Out 2022. Now, I guess that was the only thing that I could expect myself going into this, but we'll see. So you start with the main like pre-show, the buy-in, as they like to call it. And it starts with the Guns, Colton and Austin Gunn, teaming up with Ethan Page, going up against the Hardys, Matt and Jeff, and the FTW champion Hook. So basically Taz's son. There was a stipulation in this match where if Ethan Page's team lost, then Matt Hardy would have full control of his contract. So I guess that was like a reverse Uno card of what happened like a couple years ago where Ethan Page had full control of Matt Hardy and Private Party's contract. I don't know. So this match was basically whatever. It was like your usual 6-man tag. Everyone gets their spots in. But then when you look at Jeff Hardy, when he gets in, like, oh man, I feel so bad for him, man. He looked slow, out of pace in this match. And he almost got injured, dude. And I get it. He's been out of wrestling for nearly a year because of legal trouble, keeping him away. He had another arrest. And yeah, that kept him away from wrestling again. And this was his first match back. But man, I just felt... I don't know if I can feel bad for him. Do I feel bad for him? I don't know. It sounds kind of contradictory, but it just sucks to see him nearly get hurt on a couple of occasions in this match. But I don't know. I just feel like at some point he's got to know when it's time to hang it up. And I'm not sure why Matt's not like trying to convince him. But I mean, it is what it is. It's his life. It's his career. So the Hardys and Hook won the match after the Hardys hit Twists of Fates on the Guns, and then they hit one on Ethan Page, and then Hook locked in the Taz mission on Page for the submission win. So Matt Hardy now has full control of Ethan Page's contract. Then to end the buy-in, Martha Hart came out to have the opening ceremony for the Owen Hart Cup tournament. So that's starting up next month at the Forbidden Door tournament. So yeah. AEW and that jobber company, New Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan, as some people like to call it. Yeah, they're having the second annual Forbidden Door pay-per-view next month. And that kicks off the Owen Hart Cup tournament. So for those of you that are interested in that, what we do. And before we got into the main card, we already knew which match was going to open the show. That was the AEW International title match. And it was going to be like a blackjack battle royale. I don't know what was the fancy name for, but it is what it is. So they actually had the entrances for the participants towards the end of the buy-in. So it's like, that pretty much tells you how insignificant this match was going to be to you, the viewer, especially a new viewer. It's like Orange Cassidy defending his international title in a battle royale. Yeah, pretty insignificant here, especially considering how this match ended up being. This match just highlighted how many jobbers Tony Khan has signed over the last 3 years and still doesn't want to let go. Like, seriously, dude. You have like a lot of talent that nobody gives a fuck about. And then there's also the fact that there's so many people that Tony Khan has pushed, but then he stopped pushing because, well, it's kind of like Andy from Toy Story, where that dream sequence in Toy Story 2, where it's like, oh, he loves Woody, but he's like, oh, I don't want to play with you anymore. And then he drops Woody into the trash. And then Woody's like, oh, upset and depressed and all that. So that's basically Tony Khan and all these people in this battle royale. And then the third thing, there's like a couple of feuds that were supposed to be featured in this pay-per-view, but then they got thrown into this battle royale. Such as the case was Keith Lee versus Swerve Strickland and their blood feud after Swerve supposedly betrayed Keith Lee like a couple months ago. After I think he stomped on Lee onto cinder blocks or something. Like, hell, I even remember that for some reason. But anyway, you also see the likes of Ricky Starks, who supposedly got a big push, but then Tony Khan stopped pushing him. The Lucha Bros, and then, oh yeah, the big signing from, I think it was like a month or two ago, that Tony Khan had. And then, yeah, that was supposed to change AEW, guys. Oh, shit. It's Jay White. Oh, shit. Jay White in AEW. Yet he's in a battle royale for the international title to kick off the pay-per-view. And he gets eliminated. He doesn't even make the final four. Oh, my God. So much for those big signings, Tony Khan, huh? So anyway, the final four came down to the champion Orange Cassidy, Penta El Zero. Again, I like him because at least he has some connections with George Kittle, so cool. Big Cass, aka Big Bill, and Swerve Strickland. Penta got eliminated by Big Cass, who then got eliminated by Swerve Strickland. So the final two came down to Orange Cassidy and Swerve Strickland. And then after some no-selling bullcrap from both of them, the two were then on the apron. Orange Cassidy countered Swerve Strickland's like double stomp finish, and then he had him hanging on the ropes. And you think that Orange Cassidy would go for the orange Superman punch to eliminate him, but no. He teases doing that, but instead, what does he do to eliminate him? He just simply kicks his hand off the ropes. Okay. All right. I was just laughing at how stupid that was. But I mean, I'll give a little bit of credit to where it's due. So Orange Cassidy is your international champion still. But it's like, damn. What not exactly a great way to kick off your pay-per-view right there. And like I said, it pretty much highlighted how insignificant a lot of these people are, and especially insignificant of like these blood feuds you're supposed to be having right now. Speaking of blood feuds, your second match featured Chris Jericho going against Adam Cole, Lele, in an unsanctioned match. Why were they having an unsanctioned match? Well, basically, the genesis of this feud is just mainly, in my opinion, content for their AEW All Access reality show, which is now on HBO Max, or Max, as they now call it, by the way. And, well, basically because the Jericho Appreciation Society and Paige's group, or Soraya's group, the Outcasts, teamed up together to attack Britt Baker with kendo sticks, like a month or so ago. And while Adam Cole had to watch all crying and screaming, handcuffed to the ropes and all that. So anyway, we get to this match. It's an unsanctioned match for whatever reason. Sabu's also the special guest enforcer for whatever reason. You begin the match with the JAS and Roderick Strong and Sabu all going at each other, sending each other to the back. You don't even see Sabu for the rest of that match. So what does that tell you? And then, I don't know. I don't really know how to feel towards this match. Maybe it was the lack of like hardcore stuff that actually happened, or it's the fact that maybe Jericho got legitimately hurt in this match that really slowed it down. But nonetheless, Jericho nearly did hurt himself, legitimately, nearly almost killed himself by botching a lion salt. Thank God he landed on his arms. Adam Cole saved him too by super kicking him at the last moment, because Jericho nearly could have broke his neck right there. Like shit, he almost landed improperly on that lion salt. And then Jericho was about to attack Adam Cole with the kendo stick, but then Britt Baker came out to attack Jericho with her own kendo stick, and then Paige came back out to try to attack Britt Baker, but then Britt Baker attacked Saraya with the kendo stick, sent her to the back, and then Jericho pushed Adam Cole through a table by throwing a chair at him, and then Jericho tried to handcuff Adam Cole again, but unlike how the whole feud started, Cole managed to handcuff chain Jericho to himself, and then that's pretty much how the rest of the match went. So Adam Cole finished off Jericho by hitting his last shot knee on Jericho twice, and the second one with the chain. But that's not how he actually won the match. How he actually won the match was by TKOing Jericho in an emotional rage. He was like basically pounding the shit out of Jericho so much that Aubrey Edwards had to stop the match. Like, really? That's how we're doing it? It's like, that looks so non-believable. Like, how does that make any sense? Like, Adam Cole, like, this small, and Jericho, like, yeah, he's kind of like my weight at this point with the beer gut. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that. But it's like, really? We're supposed to believe Adam Cole TKO'd Chris Jericho? So, yeah. So later on in the night, Chris Jericho and Paige were so angry at the result, so embarrassed, that they demanded and received from Tony Khan to make a tag team match for Wednesday's Dynamite in San Diego between themselves and Adam Cole and Britt Baker. So more content for that All Access reality show whenever that episode's going to come out. So there you go. Next up, we had the AEW World Tag Team Champions, FTR and JEFFJERRETT and Jay Lethal. Somebody call the Schleg Daddy. So anyway, Mark Briscoe was the special guest referee for some random reason. I guess, I don't know. They're explaining like how they need to trust FTR, like, I guess, but I don't know. I don't really care. But oh no. Just when you thought you needed to call the Schleg Daddy because Jeff Jarrett was getting another title match in 2023. Oh no, it gets even better. It gets even better. Oh man, you knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. You knew it was gonna come. If you saw his review, not only was Jeff double EER Jarrett there, but also his Karen of a wife, Karen Jarrett. Hopefully it lit a fire under him, because it definitely did. Oh man, somebody lit up the Schleg Daddy signal, because it could only mean one thing. It could only mean one thing, but 10 times infinity. So anyway, FTR got a lot of double team offense early. The Double J's got back in the matchup later on. They mostly took control from there. Cash Wheeler finally got in after a hot tag after stopping Jeff Jarrett's figure four on Dax. They tried to hit a Doomsday Powerbomb on Jay Lethal, but their manager, Jeff Jarrett's manager, Sanjay Dutt, pulled Cash out of the ring, and then Mark Briscoe finally did his job as a ref, and ejected both Sanjay and Great Khali AEW, Satnam Singh, out of the match. But then Jeff Jarrett smashed yet another one of his non-drawing, doesn't draw a dime guitars on accident on Mark Briscoe. So then you knew shenanigans were going to ensue. So Aubrey Edwards then came back out to try to officiate the match, but then Sanjay Dutt still didn't leave, and he stopped Aubrey Edwards from going into the ring to officiate. So Aubrey Edwards knocks his ass out before Karen Jarrett smashed another one of Jeff Jarrett's non-drawing dime guitars on Aubrey Edwards. So, at least for once in her life, the Karen did something right. Thank you, Karen Jarrett. So anyway, Jeff Jarrett then later used the AEW tag team titles to hit Cash Wheeler in the skull, and then hit the skull-crushing finale, or at least his version of it. But it was only for 2, as Mark Briscoe was trying to wake up. And then that caused Jeff Jarrett to slap Briscoe in the face for his slow count. And then Briscoe responded by slapping Jarrett in his own. and allowed FTR to hit the Shatter Machine and retain the AEW tag team titles. So definitely not a bad tag team matchup. I mean, I couldn't care less about the whole element of Mark Briscoe. Oh, can he trust FTR, or can he call an impartial matchup? But I was just like more concerned about, two Karens finally going at each other and finally seeing Aubrey Edwards get what she deserves. Yes, Karen Jarrett, for once in your life, you finally did something. Thank you. All right, so anyway, the fourth match, we saw TNT champion Wardlow defend his title against Christian Cage in a ladder match. I thought this was definitely a highlight of the night so far, aside from what we got in the previous match with Aubrey and Karen going at each other. So anyway, the TNT champion Wardlow and Christian Cage go at each other in a ladder match. I think this was like their first match against each other. But either way, earlier on, man, Wardlow was taking a lot of hits in this match. And the first spot where he was trying to bridge a ladder and try to put Christian through it, but then this is where the first of his many hits was coming. Christian dodged it and swept his legs, and Wardlow hit his special area on one of the ladder rungs. I'm like, ow. He won't be able to take a piss for a long ass time after that. And then Wardlow later tried to jump from the turnbuckle onto the ladder that Christian was on. But then I guess what happened was the rung he landed on snapped so bad, and that caused the ladder to break, and both him and Christian fell off as it leaned sideways. So it's like, shit. And he hurt his leg too. So towards the end of the match, both Luchasaurus and Arn Anderson were fighting each other. Wardlow took out Luchasaurus with a 20-foot swanton bomb. Like, holy shit, that was impressive. So now he has a sore back. So like literally Wardlow is like a broken man at this point. So Christian tried one last gasp to try to win the TNT title. Arn Anderson pushed him off the ladder into the grasp of Wardlow, who powerbombed him. I thought we were going to get a powerbomb symphony for Wardlow as he climbed up the ladder to retain his TNT title. It was a pretty solid ladder match. But man, I think Wardlow's going to have to take like a week off, probably a week off, because he took so many brutal hits in that match to his leg, to his back, to his special area. So next up, we had the AEW Women's Championship match between Jamie Hayter going up against Toni Storm. Now, going to this match, I did read some reports because, Twitter, that Jamie Hayter was dealing with like a legitimate injury, which sucks because Jamie Hayter was kind of like the decent only thing going on in AEW. So they played it up as an angle to write her off TV. So Jamie Hayter was attacked backstage on, I think I read on Rampage. And then they continued that angle further on Double or Nothing. So she was attacked backstage, dragged out by Paige and Ruby Soho. And then the Outcasts would continue that attack before the bell rang. But then my thinking was, where was Britt Baker, and then where was Hikaru Shida, like to even the score before the bell? And then they eventually came out during the match, but like, why did they have to wait till then? Like, where's the sense in that? Like, maybe they're trying to play up an angle where, like, oh, you didn't show up earlier enough. It's like, what the fuck was that, man? So illogical. So many bad plot holes in that one. So anyway, Jamie Hayter tried to fight through the injury, but in the end, Ruby Soho's earlier interference of trying to take off the turnbuckle pads, paid dividends before Shida would come out, and then Toni Storm would take advantage of one of those exposed turnbuckles as she reversed the lariat and pushed Jamie Hayter into an exposed turnbuckle to set up the Storm Zero pile driver and reclaim the AEW Women's Championship that Jamie Hayter took from her at Full Gear back in November. So there you go. Toni Storm is the Women's Champion yet again. I imagine Jamie Hayter, depending on how severe her shoulder injury is or arm injury is. May be off TV for a while. I don't know. But either way, kind of a shame that Hayter has pretty much been miscast and mishandled during her title run. Because, again, she's been playing second fiddle to Britt Baker yet again. And I think I said this on a couple occasions. I'm not sure if I have, but excuse me. But if I haven't, then I don't know why they haven't gone an angle of, Britt Baker betraying Jamie Hayter or vice versa. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And have that feud because they've been together for what, forever? So how have they not done that kind of thing at some point? Like at this point yet? It's kind of weird. So that match is, I don't know, hard to get invested in, but it is what it is. So next up, we had an AEW Trios Championship match. The House of Black had an open challenge the nation. An open house rules match. So basically what that is an open challenge, but is a 20 count. You had a 20 count, disqualifications, no rope breaks though. And the challengers do get to choose their own one special rule. So, and you do have like special lighting too. So as they said they would on Rampage, because, I actually do watch one group on Rampage, and this group answered the call. And that group is the Acclaimed, because everybody loves the Acclaimed, unless you're Tony Khan. And Billy Gunn, they would answer the call, and as everyone loves the Acclaimed, like I do, Max Caster in his latest rap made mentions of Brody King looking like a competitor from RuPaul's Drag Race. They also made mention of blackface. I think it was to Aleister Black. And then Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy's past with both Dominic and Rhea Ripley. Like, damn. He really went there. That was actually a pretty cool reference there. And even Rhea Ripley played up to that too. So that was actually, I'll give Rhea Ripley that. I'll give her a pass on that. As for the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, they chose not to enforce the dealer's choice given to them. So that, like, the one given rule to them. So at this point, in the pay-per-view, I didn't watch this live. I was pretty much in a family party, on a Sunday because, I do things. I did check on Twitter to see what was going on, scroll through things. And I did notice that people on the hardcore wrestling community were not happy. We're not happy, with certain things with this pay-per-view. Most notably, the crowd. They're once again using the "let's blame the crowd" card on why this show is not doing well. So, is it the crowd, or is it really how bad this pay-per-view has been? Because for a lot of these matches so far, like, let's see, the Battle Royal, which was pretty pointless. The Jericho Adam Cole match, I thought that was pretty bad because, well, for an unsanctioned match, they barely did anything. And Adam Cole beating up Chris Jericho doesn't look believable. And I give a little bit of of flack for the tag team title match. But other than that, it's just like, man, it's been meh. It's been really meh. So anyway, back to this match. It was pretty much a total domination for the House of Black. You did get a little bit of offense from the Acclaimed, but they were pretty much dominating Anthony Bowens. And then even when they eventually got the hot tag to Billy Gunn, they immediately squash it. They immediately take him out. Aleister Black knocks out Billy Gunn, or Daddy Ass, with the Black Mass to keep the trios titles for the House of Black. So there you go. And I gotta be honest with you, if there was a time for the Acclaim to take those tag trios titles, it was probably here. It's probably here. Maybe they do a rematch, but weren't they on a winning streak or something, trying to rebuild themselves? But man, They were booked as like pretty much not being given much of a fighter's chance. And now the boring house continues to look even more boring. Like the same ones I saw at Revolution. Pretty much boring fucks. Anyway, the TBS champion, Jade Cargill, went up against Ty Valkyrie. I don't know who she is. But anyway, Jade was entering this match seeking for her 60th win in her undefeated streak. Really? 60th? Holy shit. So anyway, as such, she got a special dancing entrance with the sorority group. Okay. Okay, then. And then, yeah, she got the whole song and dance. And then as for this match itself, this was not great. Taya looked slow, and honestly did not sell for Jade, like for half of the match. But towards the end, she had the match nearly won with her version of the Glam Slam, the Valhalla, but Jade kicked out at the very last second. And Jade used her Glam Slam, the Jaded, to put away Taya again. Yeah, apparently they had their first match back in like March or April. I don't know. I don't watch this show enough. To retain the TBS title and notched her 60th win in her undefeated streak. So Jade is 60-0, ladies and gentlemen. Or, she was on Sunday. But then after the match, Smart Mark Sterling, her manager, proclaimed an open challenge. Yes, open challenge the nation. Right away, even though he went on to proclaim that, there's nobody left for her to face. So because of that, I go on to proclaim an open challenge. She's ready to fight anyone. I'm John Cena, man. Let's get this TBS Open Challenge the Nation started. So that brought out the returning Chris Statlander. I'll be honest with you. I thought Chris Statlander at least had a gimmick, with the whole alien stuff. Like, I don't know exactly how to connect with her now. But anyway, that's besides the point. Chris Statlander had been out for a year again with the torn ACL. So she managed to fight out the Glam Slam and actually managed to win. She actually managed to hand Jade Cargill her first loss with her pile driver finisher and become the new TBS champion. So she's the 1 in 60-1. Wow. I actually did not expect that. So that's pretty cool. For Chris Statlander, so good for her. Actually, a decision that woke up the crowd a little bit, and I do kind of want to retrace something a bit. I believe Chris Statlander, was supposed to be the one to dethrone Jade. I think they were trying to do something like that before she got hurt with the ACL. So I guess it's kind of good that AEW didn't forget that. So I'll give them a little bit of credit for that. But as for these TBS title matches themselves, first one, not so great. Second one, you can't really judge it because it was fairly short. Now, it's on to Tony Khan to see what direction he could take Jade Cargill in now that she doesn't really have an undefeated streak to go by. And, we'll see what direction he could take the TBS title in now that it has a new title holder in Chris Statlander. And trust him with it? That's another story. Next up, we had the highly talked about, highly anticipated 4 Pillars Fatal 4-Way AEW World Champion MJF defending his title against Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. Now, I'm sorry. I don't know why they call themselves the 4 Pillars. I mean, I would certainly say MJF is a pillar of AEW, but Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Jungle Boy? No, absolutely not. Like, what exactly have they done to be a pillar of AEW? Like, really? Now, for as much flack as I give them, for as much as I don't like their style of wrestling, if you want to talk about pillar of AEW, I would say Kenny Omega. And as much as I hate them so much, the Bucks have sucked. They're pillars of AEW. Not these 3 guys. No. So before this match, Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti announced via signs, like fan signs, that they're having a baby. So congrats to them. Like really, really happy for them. So the match started with everyone ganging up on MJF to start the match. And then sadly, the rest of this match turned basically into an indie fed orgy. Like, it is pretty much your typical, like, let's get our spots in, except for MJF. Like, he knew that, oh, I'm not doing this spot fest orgy for all y'all. It's like, I'm not buying into this bullshit. So MJF played it smart. He was playing chess while everyone else was playing let's kill each other checkers. So all four later on in the match did the moves of their mentors midway in. Darby Allin doing Sting Scorpion Death Drop on MJF. Sammy Guevara doing the Code Breaker of Chris Jericho on Darby Allin. Jungle Boy doing Christian Cage's Kill Switch, even though he feuded with Christian on Sammy Guevara. And then finally, MJF hitting Cody Rhodes' Crossroads on Jungle Boy for a 2 count. Did MJF learn anything from Cody Rhodes? You have to hit it 3 times, man. 3 times to win the match. You clearly haven't watched Cody Rhodes enough. I'm just kidding. I don't know. So anyway, and I thought this was a funny moment. MJF proceeded to grab a mic. He told Sammy to just lay down for him because of the newly revealed baby news. So Sammy Guevara tricked MJF into thinking he would lay down for him. And then after a back and forth, he locked MJF into the walls of Jericho. But then at the same time, Darby Allin also locked Jungle Boy into the Scorpion Death Lock. Then it turned into a submission orgy from there. Like, come on, guys, really? If you really wanted, you know what, you could have went on the P-Hub and looked up that kind of thing, for who. So anyway, later on in the match, it looked like MJF really hurt his left hand, because he landed hard on like a top rope powerbomb he gave to Darby Allin. He was like, my hand. So I thought MJF legitimately hurt his hand, but he looked fine in the post show pressure. But I don't know anything. So anyway, the finish saw MJF throwing the AEW World Title onto a lifeless Jungle Boy as Darby Allin was about to give the coffin drop. So he dropped to give the coffin drop, but he landed on the AEW World Title, and that allowed MJF to side headlock him into a pin attempt, and he retained the AEW title. So, yeah, I was not impressed. I was not impressed with this match. Mainly because, well, everybody except MJF was trying to make this match about a spot orgy. Like, come on, guys. Slow the fuck down. This is why I respect MJF for what he does in the ring and for being actually trying to be a character for as much of the stupid, stupid kissing shit he's been doing lately. But nonetheless, once MJF proves that you don't need to do fancy crap to be a good world champion, especially in the ring, the in-ring fancy crap, you don't need to do that. Because while MJF was trying to do all these traditional wrestling moves and talking shit, outsmarting your opponents in the match, again, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara were trying to kill each other. They're trying to kill each other with no room left to breathe. So, yeah, this match was not good in my eyes. But I will give credit where it's due with the pretty crafty finish for the AEW champion. But going forward, Tony Khan's got to do a really better job at presenting MJF better in terms of competition and better stories going forward, because I saw skimmed through small clips a couple weeks ago, and it's like, man, he really had to try to make this crap work, especially considering that the world title match didn't go on last. It's like, I can see why MJF was like, do I really have to work with this? In his head, it's like, do I really have to work with this? So this match was not good in my eyes. Too much movement, too much fast-paced spots. MJF is still your world champion, and rightfully so. So then we get the real main event, and that's the Anarchy in the Arena. So basically, like your condensed stadium stampede, the sequel to last year. So you had this time around the Elites, Kenny Omega, the Cucks of Suck, so Matt and Nick Jackson, and Hangman Adam Page. They're back together again. Okay, going up against the Blackpool Combat Clubs, so they're heels now. Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, so Cesaro for all you WWE fans out there, and Wheeler Utah Jazz, as I like to call him, or Wheeler Useless. So this match was supposed to be as advertised, Anarchy in the Arena. So I'll give my thoughts in just a bit on like this whole matchup, but some of the things that stood out was Jon Moxley is like the singers for his band, like the Violent Idols, performing Wild Thing live for like half the match for the BCC. You know, they kept playing the song throughout half the match as both teams immediately went at each other in the crowd. But yeah, people online were getting pissy because, you know, the lead singer wearing certain face paint. And yeah, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Adam Page, also took off the eye patch that he was wearing. I forgot why he was wearing the eye patch, but nonetheless, it looked like his eye was fine now. And then later on, the Bucks of Suck finally ended the loop of Wild Thing, super kicking the lead singer, and then subtly Don Callis made his way to the commentary desk. And Kenny Omega immediately noticed this because he still had the back of his mind of Don Callis' betrayal from like a couple weeks ago. And then later on, some other notable things like Jon Moxley suplexing Kenny Omega onto a barbed wire poker chip, busting him open with a fork. Like, what the hell? And then Wheeler Useless and Daniel Bryan being down and bloodying Nick Jackson and Adam Page in the ring. Cesaro and Matt Jackson going outside, and Cesaro giving Matt Jackson a pile driver on the back of a pickup truck. So, yeah. And after that, a lot of like weird shit was happening, like that AEW cameras couldn't pick up. And then after a long while, Matt Jackson came all the way back from the pickup truck to give Jon Moxley an exploding super kick. Like literally an exploding super kick. I'm not joking you. And the Elite, they rallied for a bit before the BCC retook control and even forced Matt Jackson to step into thumbtacks and even eat thumbtacks. Like, dude, that's gross. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's so cringe. So the end of the match saw Don Callis stop Kenny Omega from hitting the one winged angel on Wheeler Useless. But the momentary distraction allowed a mysterious person in black and a red hat to hit a running knee on Kenny Omega. Who is this mysterious person? Well, it turned out to be Konosuke Takeshita. Who? Who the fuck is this random dude with the last name of Take a Shit? So you had some random guy attack Kenny Omega who wants to take a shit. Yeah, that certainly made me want to take a shit away from this matchup. So the attack on Kenny Omega allowed Wheeler Useless to pin Omega and win the match for the BCC. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The big betrayal by Take a Shitta helps the BCC. I really don't want to say the acronym anymore. Defeat the Elite in the Anarchy in the Arena, and that ends Double or Nothing. But man, what a disappointment this match was. Like, for a match that's supposed to be titled Anarchy in the Arena, I'm sorry. This might piss off a lot of people, but this did not live up to its name. Like, it really didn't. For, like, the story or lack thereof, it's severely underwhelming. Like, what was the story in this matchup? Like Daniel Bryan betraying Adam Page or something like that? Or like, what exactly was the story? And then the Elite coming together for some random reason or whatnot. Again, maybe you guys can refresh my memory. I don't know. In mine, I haven't watched shit in like months. Okay. But either way, even with whatever story they're trying to tell, it clearly didn't execute here. And even the hardcore spots fell flat here. Like the poker chip spot, the crowd brawls, like, you know, it's stuff we've seen from last year. And yeah, don't do that. Don't do that thumbtack eating, please. It's you can think of it as hardcore, but I think it is cringe. The stepping on the thumbtacks was, I mean, I'll give it that. I will give it that one. That was like, all right. that was like weird, but okay. But I will say what made last year's Anarchy Battle better, because at least with last year's, you know, they tried something. They tried something different. I had my initial doubts about it, but it was very chaotic. They brought a lot of heavy hitters to the table in that battle, and it made at least some sense in terms of story element. You know, Chris Jericho's betraying the Inner Circle and starting up a new group, the Jericho Appreciation Society, because, well, he didn't feel appreciated for as stupid as that group is and still is. You know, the battle between pro wrestlers and sports entertainers, even though they're both technically the same thing. And then I think it's like Eddie Kingston and the remnants of the Inner Circle, Santana and Ortiz, trying to find people, and they did. And John Moxley and Daniel Bryan, who were babyfaces at the time, they came together to take on the JAS. And even though the JAS won, you know, at least it was something. At least it was able to keep the crowd alive in that matchup. So for this matchup, I'll give at least some creativity points for Matt Jackson's literally exploding super kick. So I'll give it that. But otherwise, I felt like this was like the cherry on top for what was like, I don't know, a very flat pay-per-view. Sure, there were some highlights like, you know, the Acclaimed, the tag team title match, but I was mainly for Aubrey Edwards and Karen Jarrett going at each other. I think the ladder match was the match of the night, but that's not really saying much, to be honest with you. The only reason why I can't really say, oh, this pay-per-view is really bad, is because All Out 2022 is right there. All Out 2022 had absolutely nothing going for it. Rebuild throughout the show, and then the media scrum was so bad. This one, with all the lack of attention I paid towards this, all I can say is like, maybe my expectations, but, well, I had none. And this justified it. And again, who the fuck is Take a Shit? Can someone please give me a vignette on this guy? So overall, you know, there's no sense of direction going in and throughout. A lot of these matches felt flat and boring alongside its usual reputation for being long as fuck and just having spots for the sake of them. And yeah, the only highlights, like I said, were the ladder match, Aubrey Edwards and Karen Jarrett going at each other in that tag team title match. But yeah, aside from those couple of highlights, it's just hard not to see why a lot of people, not just at home, but in that arena, were not liking this show. And can you really blame the fans in attendance for like being silent for a large portion of that? You can't use let's blame the crowd. Let's blame Vegas for being so terrible, for not being lively for an AEW show. Because this is the same fan base that's blaming the crowd, the AEW hardcore fan base, the internet wrestling community in general, for being lifeless. Maybe Tony Khan should consider taking Double or Nothing out of Las Vegas because it's been there for what? 3 of the last 4 years? Since 2019? And then 2021, 2022? Now here? It's been here for the last, 2021, 2019, 2022, 2023. So 3 of the last 5 years it's been here. Maybe consider going somewhere else for Double or Nothing. To another state that feels casino related. Because maybe they're just, the people in Vegas are just burnt out. And not only that, you're going to it on Memorial Day weekend. There are better things to do in Las Vegas. And keep in mind, people are burnt out from that Golden Knights game that took place yesterday. Don't you think that they want to do better things in Vegas? Just saying. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what kind of direction AEW is trying to go in, especially considering they have a new Saturday show that's going to get destroyed in prime time. My opinion, just my opinion. But as always been the case with Tony Khan, C-O-N, and his cronies at Warner that just keep, buying into him for some reason. I don't know. All this lack of direction, lack of storytelling, the gatekeeping of the casual wrestling community. I don't know. I just don't think things are going to change for them anytime soon. As long as the money is talking for Warner, things are not going to change for them. And, well, us casual fans are going to suffer. I don't know. I thought the show was very boring, but I had no expectations for it going in regardless. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on Double or Nothing 2023. And yeah, if you're watching Dynamite this week, well, I guess let me know your thoughts on it in the comments or on social media at Twitter or Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. Anyway, this is DylanLasagna signing out of another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, episode number 145 of this icy yet spicy show. And keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.